I kind of know your journey into motion design, but there are those who will be watching this that don't. So, what was your journey into motion design? What's your background? There's a big story there, which is really interesting.
Like in a job interview. Yes,
Yeah,
ready.
exactly.
Skill. No, but seriously, it wasn't very straightforward. When I was a kid, and that's how backward I'm going, a lot to talk. I never thought that creative was a career. I think like many of my generation, I'm 38, 39 in a couple of months. And I always saw like my family, they are all engineers, or they are academic. I have 2 cousins that have a PhD, and most of my family, they are either engineers or teacher. Everyone has got a degree, everyone went to uni. So yeah, I always knew that I had to do something serious. So the way that I got in is kind of like my life led me there. I'm not saying destiny, but yeah, it's I knew that I wanted to go to this university that is quite prestigious, and it's called Politecnico di Milano in Milan, and they have engineering and architecture, which is the same uni that my father did. So I knew I basically studied to get there, and when I get in, I discover, like when you do those open day, and I discovered that it was in architecture. There was like this new faculty that was design. I actually studied industrial design, but since the second year, we did a course in computer graphic in which they show us Maya.
Yeah, I remember Maya. Oh my God, those are the days.
And that's when I thought I liked doing more the modeling and the animations of the product instead of doing, the chair of the lamp. And from there on, I basically just started studying it by myself. And then I went to do a master. I did a master in visual communication, so more theoretical. But you know me, I love a story. I love to turn things into like taking something that is a bit complex, maybe, and explain it, make it easy. And then I discover After Effects and Maya, scrapped it. Too difficult. And that is my type of motion: 2D, flat, character animation, typography, and I think that mixes various passion of mine. I've got the illustration side.
Because you can draw. You're a quite good drawer.
I became because when I went freelance, I wanted to keep the money also of the Illustrator. So at the beginning, I was just the motion, but then I said I want to keep it all, and so I learned. And then I really like typography and graphic design, layout. So
you kind of. It sounds like a tiny bit like myself, that you loved a little bit of everything, and you love the animation, you love the graphic design, whereas I'll still love the motion design and the 3D. I don't know what I want to do ever.
how did you got into it?
How did I get into it? Lightsabers. I wanted to make a lightsaber so I saw that people used to make fan videos of Star Wars, and I wanted to learn how to do a lightsaber. So it was more of a visual effect that I learned. And then I realized you can do all this other stuff. And that's kind of like from there. I started using a pirated version of After Effects at 17. And I was like,
of course.
It was always pirated. Exactly. And what do you do now? And how did you get there? Because I know what you do, but this is part of the journey, right?
Yeah. I currently am a design director, and I manage like a team of 13 people, and they are a little bit of everything. I've got art director, I've got even creative technologies, which means people that does AR. I even have one developer, poor Carlos. I don't know shit about that. But yeah, I work in this creative production studio. I always say it's independent, it's really small. I always call it weird advertising because we don't do the classic advertising.
You're kind of like experiential experience. Yeah.
We do a lot of, but we do AR, we do a lot of out of home. The weird out of home, not the big above the line. But sometimes we also do that. But even when we do it, we always try to give it a spin of something weird, even if it's just a technique. See, see,
Yeah,
I'm lucky. I'm lucky because it is fun. But what my designers do, I don't. I'm not able to do it. A little bit probably is generation. I have a lot of young designers, and a little bit is literally the technique. AR mixes a lot of things. In fact, it's very
yeah,
difficult to be an AR designer because you worked at Snap for a while, right?
yeah,
So you must have met many of them. There is programming, so they have to be
yeah,
coder, light but coder.
yeah.
Uh, Obviously you have to have a sense of layout because you cannot throw shit, and a
Yeah, yeah.
little bit of UI because there are interaction, like if it's a game there is a trigger, there is a so it's so.
It's tough. It's really, really because you're designing with the intent that you don't know how the end user might use this, and they might. It's. I guess. How have you, as a design director, how do you find dealing with the client fear? Because a client will come to you, and some clients will understand that AR is an environment where the end user could almost damage their brand. Like they could maybe mess with the brand a bit. They like, how will people react to this? Like that's a tricky situation because it's like a game. It's open ended, isn't it?
Yeah, how I deal internally, but I don't like. I'm very much like, I mean, if you don't want to do it, that don't. I mean,
Yeah,
look
yeah,
around.
yeah,
Everyone's doing it. Do you want to do it or not?
yeah.
But obviously, you cannot say that. You have to put up a face. And
Sales.
I have a very good team, and I think that we did so many of them.
Yeah,
I think it's not. I need to think about a couple of years ago when we started. Because now it's kind of easy in the sense that you've got data to back it up.
yeah.
You just show
Case study.
them, like, especially TikTok, billions like nothing.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and helps a lot having the new, Gen Z is they're very advertising savvy
Yeah.
in the sense that they
They
can
love it
see.
as well. They actually enjoy advertising, don't they? Which is weird from from my generation perspective.
Yeah, but clients need to, the lenses that perform well are the one that almost like take the piss of the brand, or they
Yep.
use it without you noticing it. Or they use it, for instance, if it's a brand sneakers, you put the sneakers in, but it's a game. Like it could be a dot, it
Yeah.
could be a something else. Um, and obviously, the dream clients are the one that let you explore a little bit, but
Yeah.
they're rare.
The ones that don't take themselves too seriously because they're yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
If you
that
take
is.
yourself too seriously, AR is not the space you want to be playing in.
You would be surprised with, for instance, we worked with one brand that is like high fashion,
Oh,
and they actually did okay. Okay, there was the logo. Their logo was the main thing, but I think that they've been very playful with it. While the client like Disney, um, that you would think that they are more playful, they are actually the one that needs
they're
the
the
most
worst.
convincing. So to
Yeah,
me, it
yeah,
was
yeah.
weird, right? Because you expected from high fashion like Balenciaga, you,
Yeah.
you would say, okay, fair. Instead, I find that beauty and fashion, in my experience, right now, they are the most brave.
That's interesting because whenever in the past, whether it's freelance or an agency, I get like I'm probably putting myself out there the wrong way. Whenever I get like a fashion or beauty client, I'm always anxious. I'm like, oh, is this going to be a tough one? Because they're very particular, and I understand that because it's the fashion industry. But that's fascinating that they've almost. I guess it's a space where they know you don't have to take themselves too seriously, so they can play. Whereas Disney or Disney, so yeah, they're going to be a
Yeah.
tough client.
Have you ever worked for an entertainment client in,
A couple of times freelancing, and they're a tougher client. I find entertainment clients because they're legacy clients, so they tend to
say,
have an expectation they want to, and I've seen in studios they're kind of like a half motion graphics, half VFX studio, and there's still that kind of legacy thing of whining and dining and working over crazy, crazy hours, and it's this expectation there, and I don't think that's gone away. I because it exists still in the VFX industry, and I definitely think entertainment clients tend to expect that from us.
This agency where I work now, that is called This Is Tommy, is actually the first time I've ever had to do anything entertainment. It was a industry that I never encountered, and I
Yeah.
never thought that I would enjoy. It was very difficult at the beginning because I come from I don't know. We work together, but
Yeah.
digital apps in particular, I'm really good with that.
Yeah.
Even B2B, because I've got like my past as
Yeah. Yeah.
data visualization. So those words I know them really well. Um, while entertainment is weird because um, it was very difficult because yeah, they've got their legacy. They already have I don't know, it's a different attitude. Usually you
Yeah.
have a product, right? You've got a
Yeah.
feature, you've got yeah, it's always about download now,
Yeah.
listen now, buy more clothes,
Yeah.
uh, or but entertain.
It
There is
feels more
one.
like a brand awareness campaign every time. I don't.
It's not because you one of the account that I was working with, Harriet. I remember that really made me change how I see it. She said, "Oh, I love to work with entertainment because similar to football, which is another client that we have a lot of, and I didn't know shit. Um, it's fandom. So you're selling a product that people already want to
Yeah.
buy." And
Yeah.
that made me change it a little bit. And I thought, yeah, you are. But that makes me think, okay, I'm playing in another way. They need to be respectful
Yeah.
of the love that the relationship that people already have with that.
That's so true. That's so true. That's such a good point that you're going into a world that's already been created. So if you mess with that world, they have every right to be upset about that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it must be difficult to be a creative, like a creative, you know what I mean, not a
Yeah.
designer, a creative, the one that comes up with idea,
Yeah. Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
It's I'm not saying it's easy because I never done that job and I don't want to do it. But like when you've got a Ford Fiesta, you have to build a story around it. When
Yeah.
you have to sell yet another bag, you have. But what do you do when you've got already a story that sometimes, for instance, sometimes we work with shit like the series that we are promoting is not great.
Yeah.
Like always work with the Stranger Things or
Yeah.
um, how do you do that?
How do you create something that feels original when everything else has already been created?
Yeah, or of value. How do you add your value? So it's also a challenge design wise because there is no brand guidelines.
Yes, there never is with entertainment. There's just like you've been given the assets and they've been signed off and you have that to use and that's it. And you have to be as
yeah.
creative as possible with that and it's
Maybe
tough.
that's why AR is a little bit difficult because it works. You have very few graphic elements and motion elements that you have to play right with in
Yeah.
AR, but they are those few elements. They need to feel very on brand. If what you've got is a 2 hours movie feature, you don't have the graphic element. So
Yeah.
probably that's why they are more particular because probably it's one of those things they know the feeling but they are not
Yes.
good at explaining it to you.
And yeah, because once you see it, you see it. Like, and if it has the fandom, they know how their fans will respond. Um, I want to kind of swing into another topic, which is kind of, I guess, more back to the journey. So you're Italian. How
Gotta
did you
go.
find the transition from? Oh yeah, what age were you when you moved to the UK? How did you find the transition? Cultural differences. Are Italian designers different from UK designers? Is there a universal language there? I'd love to like hear about that.
Okay, so I moved here when I was 28. So I was already kind of like a done woman, a done
Yeah,
person. I had a history, I had a group of friends, I had a community, I had a couple of jobs already. So I decided it pretty quickly when I took the decision. Like I remember that I was freelancing for the previous 2 years, and I was living with my best friends, and we had like a whole house, and we were part of a artistic collective that we founded. So
very cool.
and things were fun, but I felt that there was no future. I was not anymore about having fun, but I wanted to grow. I wanted to do things. I wanted to
Yeah,
I want more. I want more and more and more. So that's, and it's not just career wise. Obviously,
Yeah.
career wise, I really wanted to work with the best brands in the world, and I wanted to work with the best people in the world. And I was living in Milan, which is in Italy is the place where to be, right?
Yeah.
But
It's
there
I
was a
mean, it's still a good design hub in general, right?
see,
Yeah.
and but yeah, it's not comparable to London. So
Yeah.
literally in a summer, with my friends, we came here in August to visit. So I remember that we did like a road trip in
Oh.
Cornwall. So we got a car, and we did like yeah, a trip all around. And then after the 2 weeks, we went back home, and I was like, I don't know, I felt, even if the weather was shit, because it was August and it was cold, and to go
It's
in the
always
sea,
cold.
wetsuit. But yeah, we were staying in Bristol, and it was so cool. It was so vibey. And then I had a friend that lived in London, and literally they told me, Laura, what are you doing still there in Milan? Come over. And
Yeah.
so in 2 months, I was here. So by November, I had a job because I came here already with a job. And that's
That was it.
11 years ago.
That's incredible. And you don't miss the weather in Italy.
Well, I do. I do. Oh my god, it is, especially now, so cold
It's so
and
crap at the
never
moment.
ending. It's never ending. But I don't miss the summer. The summer is really, really hot.
Yeah.
Well, I love, like, last year's summer was the best
It
for
was
me.
bliss.
The
It
UK,
was bliss. Yeah. It was
yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Obviously, there are a lot of things that I miss, but it's not far. I'm lucky because, like, you know, when you speak with Australians, like,
Yeah, they're like so far away.
yeah, but similar to you, I think. How long does it take you to go back home?
It's only an hour. It's only an hour back home.
Yeah, for me, it's like 1 hour and a half,
Yeah.
and like literally, London Milan is like a bus. If you keep an eye on the fare, you can get like £80 return. So I feel that I've got the best of both worlds.
Yeah. It's
Because there's
definitely
some
it's a testament to your ambition, isn't it? That like you were in Milan, you were a designer, but you wanted more, which is like a really it's did it feel like a leap to you? Because for a lot of people that's like, oh my god. Or did it feel quite natural?
I thought about moving abroad for a long time,
Yeah.
long time. So it took me a long time to find the courage. But once I had it, it was so fast, and yeah. Once I decided, once I had my one way ticket, I felt easy.
Yeah. That's cool. That's amazing. And what's like the biggest difference, whether it be in design or just general culture, you have felt coming to the UK versus Italy?
So many, so many. I know that for you, probably the most Italian person you've ever known, but I'm not very Italian. I don't look very Italian.
No,
I don't
you're not. You're
speak
definitely not. No, seriously, I've met people that are so much more Italian.
just
Like
dramatic.
someone, yeah, 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 yeah,
But yeah, so in a sense, I was feeling more outside. How do you say an outsider in Italy than
yeah.
here? But remember, this is not the UK. This is London.
Yes,
Like as soon
yeah,
as I
yeah.
leave the M25,
It's
I
very
do.
different. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, I get
So
that.
so when I talk about differences, I think what you mean is with London, right?
Yeah, yeah. Because London's its own country, I think, within a country.
Yeah, and the difference is light years. I would say that generally speaking, like it's at least 5 or 10 years in the future. So when I
Yeah,
moved here, it was like I went in the future immediately. And I'm talking about stupid things like the apps. I moved here in 2013, and
yeah,
everyone had a. You had to add apps. Everything, your life was revolving on the apps. In Italy, obviously, it is now, but it wasn't. So the first thing was apps. I had Lumia. Do you remember the smartphone Lumia?
oh yeah,
Nokia Lumia, fantastic. I love it. I still have it
yeah,
because it's beautiful and it feels great. But it was bad because it was just phone and WhatsApp. So I had to
yeah.
buy my first iPhone, which I
Yes,
was
yeah,
very
yeah,
against because I'm already a Apple sucker. So I didn't want it to fall into the last thing.
yeah.
And now
The
obviously
ecosystem. You're in
now
London. Everything's Apple.
well honestly
I have an Apple iPhone now. Would you believe it?
But you have to. You
Yeah.
have to. For instance, the other day in the office, we did an AR exhibition, and
Very cool.
with Aero, basically, yeah, you know, Aero, the Adobe
Yeah,
AR
yeah, yeah.
app, and it only works on Apple. I
Yep.
didn't even notice until someone said, "Oh, I've got an Android," and I thought, "Not my problem." I mean, you
Yeah.
live in London, you work in a creative agency. What do you mean you don't have an Apple? That's how absurd it is. Mm, but yeah, coming back to your question, another difference was the people. You This is a city that attracts the most intelligent, the weirdest, the most brave people in the world, and
Yeah.
that is I don't know, electrifying.
It
It's so.
is. I absolutely agree with you. There's just an energy that you don't get. And I've been to other places, not a lot. I haven't traveled a lot, but there's just something very unique. I've been to New York, and I don't feel that in New York. Like it's very different in London.
And the thing that I always loved about London is that there are, oh, maybe I'm a fool. I never felt too much of a competition. There is competition, obviously, because you notice it when you look for a
Yeah.
job. Then it's like, fuck me. Um, but I don't know, especially the community of designers that I've got around me, you are jealous of their success, but you use it
As a
as
motivator.
yeah, as
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
yeah.
Because you're
And you
around
know,
so much talent all the time, right?
yeah. Yeah, every now and then, especially with Charlie, my boyfriend that is English. Charlie's dream is to move to Italy. You know, probably that's why he's with me. He thought this is my ticket. And sometimes I do think about it, but I would miss. And not that Italians are stupid. It's just that we care less about inspiration and work. Which is part of the charm of it. While here, if you're ambitious, and I am,
Yeah,
it's
you'll do great.
perfect. Yeah, it's also after 11 years it becomes sometimes it's stressful and sometimes it's overwhelming.
That's so that would bring me on to my next question. So you've always, since I've known you, had an insatiable drive to just be better, right? You're always trying to like do great work, tell great stories. And now you're here, and I mean, I was only in London, what, I think 5 years, and I started feeling it after five, but I did have a kid, so that I think that changes things. But like you say there, like how have you kept that pace and that energy in a city that just has the ability to drain it from people so fast?
uh, well, I think one answer is that again, I came here. It took me a long time to arrive, so it's almost like
Yeah,
I was more thirsty. While I think you came here when you were a bit younger, right?
yeah. I came here. I came to London when I lost my job. That's what happened. So I moved from Brighton to London because
Yeah, so I think it's because I thought about it for so long that that gave me a little bit more time, maybe.
yeah,
And now it's hard. It's hard. In the last few years, has been really hard because also, there are other things. There are things like the industry that we work in is a little bit fucked, especially agency. Agency is a weird
yeah,
world.
yeah.
Um, and I think I'm lucky because at least I always worked in independent agency. They, yeah, maybe are a little bit of a mess, but at least they are human. I always saw the founders. You can agree with them or disagree, but they were the real humans.
Yeah.
Um, while I think that not probably has saved me the fact that I never worked for one of the, I'm thinking about the big design agency like
WPP, Ogilvy. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, Saatchi and Saatchi,
yeah.
like, uh, but even that, nah, it is tough now. It is tough, especially because it's like like when you are on in Instagram for too long, and then every now and then you have to take a break.
Yeah.
It's similar. Living in London is like
Yeah,
you-
it's the grind, it's the wheel. Yeah, yeah.
everyone talks about the same thing, the same trend, the same designer.
This is true.
So that is becoming. I don't
So
know. I'm not.
do you feel you're leaning not you're not falling out of love with London. I could never, because I'll never fall in love with London. But the idea, do you ever lean to going back home to Italy, or does that strike? Because I talk about going back home to Ireland a lot now, and it's a big thought of mine. But it's that fear of like, is that it if I go back?
Yeah, recently I have my best friend Francesca. She's also a designer, and last weekend she moved back to Milan. And it was
Oh
a bit
no.
of a tragedy because she's my best friend, and what am I gonna do? You know, is it's bad. But that also made me. I'm very curious about her path. I'm gonna use her a little bit as a gimmick to see how it is,
Yeah.
because she's like me. Actually, she's worse than me. She lived in Kathmandu. She lived in Brighton. She lived in
Oh
like she
man.
moved a lot around.
Yeah.
Uh, I'll see. So she's even more cosmopolitan than me. Because the thing that scares me the most is, well, two. One, having to restart
Yeah.
the
That's
having a community.
scary.
No, I've got Oded and Inessa and
Yeah.
all the gang, all the sick gang that we've got and other friends. So I will miss that. And because in Italy, I have my friends, of course, but they have their own life. Not a lot of them are designers.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and yeah,
that's a big thing for a creative, isn't it? Like ourselves, it's like if you can't find that connection and spark, it's a bit depressing, isn't it?
it's there is a lot the community. Plus, you know me, I'm a very is it a word gregarious? Gregarious?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah, you are. Yeah, that's a really good word to
love
describe you.
people. I love putting people together as well, keeping them together. So for me, it's very important. I am an Aries, so I always think I'm the best, but I need other people. And I need to see them doing well, and I need to learn from them. So, yeah, being away from my community of friends and design would be hard. The other thing is, I hear there are a lot of talks, there are a lot of exhibitions.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I'm not. After 11 years, you start thinking about it.
yeah.
So,
I think I'm in the same thought. So you've been here like quite a long time, and then you were a designer in Italy. What are like? There's been so many, but like, what are the biggest changes in the industry that you've experienced firsthand, and that have maybe affected how you work or your journey or your path or decisions you've made?
there are some that are small but big, almost like in my career. For
Yeah.
instance, I told you I started a little bit as a 3D designer, but also web designer with Flash,
Oh
and
yeah.
the madness of the like 2006 website. Do you remember when there was no UX UI? There was like fuck legibility, fuck usability. You did not test.
Remember that? It's
That was
awful.
one of the first early on in my career because I think we went so mad. If I think about the first website that I built, my God.
Yeah, I look back on my older websites and I am absolutely, I hate myself. I was like,
And I
what was
built
I
it
doing?
for And I built it for a studio. So while I was doing my master, I also worked part time in a studio, and I did their website. So and I left it behind me. So God knows, even just changing an image must have been hell. So that was one of the first early on in which a new methodology arrived. And that got me off basically. And obviously also technically Flash became outdated. So
Yeah,
I remember it because it's very strong for me because it affected me
yeah,
because I didn't call myself a web designer ever again.
yeah, yeah. I remember when Flash died, I was just finished uni, I think, and we'd learned Flash in uni. So I was like, well, that was pointless.
Oh yeah, for you, it was fun. I didn't have a lot of years, but it was fun. It was
Yeah,
really. If you speak with a lot of designers that are more or less my age, they will all tell you that like it was fantastic. I think it formed our way of being creative because similar to AR today, you have to have a little bit of code. You have to put
yeah,
many hats. So I think that everyone of my age like to talk about when Flash died, it had a real impact in our life because it was such a lovely,
It was so
um,
expressive, wasn't it? You could just
so
it was
expressive.
kind
That's
of
great.
it was a canvas, and you could just and I obviously look from a design perspective, it was a mess because, but I do miss that era of design where because at the sometimes I don't know if you feel this when you go through Instagram or you go through just the internet in general, everything feels a bit sterile sometimes, or like kind of like soulless. And when you go back to Flash days, some of it was awful and really bad. But like there was just people just kind of like poured their heart out on like do you remember like a site called Newgrounds? It was like a game site where people would put up anyone could make a flash game and upload it.
I used to make Flash
Oh,
games.
so fun. And I do miss that. Obviously, it's not functional and terrible, but I do kind of miss that artistic era.
Yeah, and you know the other thing is that there was no research. So you start today. You start like
So true.
you go straight in production, which is like today in my role. I would never say to my like even for an AR, they always have
Yeah.
to do a research in advance, which is boring. I'm
Yeah.
sorry for they have to
Yeah.
keep so many things in consideration. As instead we just like 3, 2, 1, gone, whatever.
Yeah.
It's cute. It works. You give, and worst case scenario, you show it to your friend. What do you think? It's a bit difficult to. Yeah, okay, fine. Um, 'Cause we were the first, obviously. So our bosses, they didn't know better. So well, what you gonna do about it? This is
Yeah,
what I've got.
exactly. And
But
clients
you
have become so much more
know,
sophisticated that you kind of have to
um,
streamline, and we forget that. Like we, and I learned, like you taught me this in my journey as a designer that like this thinking of Saul Bass as dead. Like the designer, you need the client because the client is just as sophisticated now as even like some intern designer. They have an idea of what's going on, so you can't just tell them what to do and give it to them. They know they more or less some of them know what they want, and they you need their help to guide you there, right?
yeah, but that was the beauty of our generation. That's what we're gonna be about. We were
Yeah,
the first to do a website. They did not even know what it was. The first to use a phone. So it was like the Wild West.
it was
While
fun.
being a designer today must be so daunting.
I think
So
it's
many
scary.
people also see your work.
It's so saturated as well compared to when we were designers. There's so
Yeah.
many designers and everything's a lot more streamlined. So maybe
Yeah,
I don't know.
plus it's also, by the time, I'm here, I already saw 2 economic crises. So if the money were started being bad in 2010, that it's when I finished my master in 2009. So in Italy, everything arrives later. So the economic crisis arrived in 2010,
Yeah,
and then we've got this recession now. So that is also an addition to their stuff have to be you cannot be a brand cannot be brave cannot just say let's see, let's do a website, see how it goes. They have to perform. Even I told you that we started doing it a couple of years ago, and from the get-go they already wanted to know data. You always have to back it up
yeah.
with data for a
And
designer.
and that's what I think agencies at the moment are definitely suffering. It's a combination of you have the I guess the AI thing going on, and then you have the economic crisis, and then funnily enough, I think studios like not studios, but like super studios like Buck are in a really interesting position where they have monster like talent, but they also have the ability to actually do a campaign because they're this massive studio. Whereas agencies now are caught in the middle where they need to hire a studio or a bunch of freelancers. So I don't know. I don't know where it like where do you think our industry goes from here? It's like a weird economic time,
it's,
technological time.
it's difficult. It's difficult because there are definitely saturated. There is a lot, and the other thing is I meet so many, especially in AR. Now we're talking about artists, so they are not. They are, if anything, they're closer to a 3D artist than a
Yeah,
designer, um, because that is the current Wild West. So if I was a brand, I would go directly to one of these artists instead of having to pay, for when you come to an agency, you have to pay for the design director, for the head of operation, for
Yeah.
the creative directors, and for the producers, and for the, they are using softwares and operational stuff. So agencies are becoming, I think they became overly complicated.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree.
Uh, Obviously, I never work in a studio like Buck. I would like to,
Yeah, yeah,
um,
we're not yeah, if you're listening, Buck.
please. But I would wonder, how do they keep the creativity first, without getting
Yeah.
bogged down in the um, the strategy. I love strategies. I don't know if you remember, we had a conversation about strategies, but I met a strategist that I'm working with now, and now I like strategies. I understand when it's done well.
Yeah, when it's
Uh,
done right, it's amazing.
but yes, is another overthinking. It's got a lot. There is a lot of
Yeah.
overthinking. Um, I don't know how they go around and just keep it to the expressiveness, to the, it's we're in the business of feeling. We have to make people feel.
Yes,
Um,
that's so true.
and how do you do it if you are chased to do your timesheet and
Yeah,
making sure that is operationally, are you following the process? That's what I do now, for instance.
yeah.
I work a lot more on the process, which is necessary in the agency life, but
We're artistic manipulators. We're trying to make people feel. So when I worked at Snapchat, I had a really weird but interesting role. What we did was, so you'd have the creatives, because what the clients would come direct to Snapchat for the user experience. So um, y- you'd have the creative, you'd have the production team in Ukraine, and then you'd have us, and we sat in the middle of the creatives and the production team. So the creative would come up with the idea, and we would try and visualize it in a presentation, either through video or stills. But we'd also have to have an understanding of how the limitations of the technology was, which was quite interesting because you were trying to listen to the production team while trying to not piss off the creative while trying to piss off the client. But it allowed for a level of creativity because the client went direct, so they had that option to kind of play with all the teams in house. Whereas if you're going to an agency, you don't know who's making your work most of the time.
yeah,
That's the problem.
yeah. Um, I don't know. I don't know where it's going, but definitely AI is gonna change. Maybe not this year, because until someone finds a solution around the copyright issue,
Yes. Yeah.
is not you cannot really use it. For instance, we um and my team is very tech driven, is very innovation driven. So they already are doing a lot of things around it, very creative. But for now, we keep it for internal projects, basically, because every time that we propose it to a client, we have to tell them, guys, look, this is stuff that it's not like when you buy a Shutterstock. And
Yeah.
obviously, we get scared, and it's good. But you see what I mean? That's why I think that this year is still going to be. Mm. But when the first one, they find a way of working around the copyright, or as soon as there are laws, um, that is gonna be big. A little bit like Spotify.
Yeah.
Spotify changed completely the music industry. It's like a legal Napster.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. Um, I want to go into another kind of topic, which I think is important, and maybe I don't know if you've experienced it. Have you ever experienced sexism in creative industry? And because you've been in the industry a while, do you think, if you have, or do you think there's been a kind of evolution? Do you think things have changed, or do you think there's always work to do, but do you think there's been an improvement in that area?
Okay, so I knew even before you sent me the question that this is a question that would have come, because I'm a female.
Yeah.
Let's say that obviously, culturally speaking, Italy is always a little bit more traditional. So there was an element of that when I came here. I found it almost like 5, 10 years in the future. But I would say honestly that I didn't when I
That's
was a
good.
designer. especially, I didn't. Yeah, you do notice that there are a few women around you, but I always had amazing mentors. I always had people in front of me. Like I had female bosses for a long time. Um, when I started, maybe sexism is a bad word because I never experienced sexism. But when I started noticing that I'm a female, is when I
Ah.
started going up. As a designer, I think that
Oh.
I was fine. But yeah, when you start being a design director, or when you start going to events where there are creative directors,
Is it more that not that you experience necessarily sexism, but when you know you're a woman, do you feel that more when you're at that higher level? Okay, that's
definitely,
interesting.
definitely, because if there were few women around you when you were a motion designer, you're the
If
only
you
one
yeah,
when
yeah.
you are in a director position. And the cool thing, that's another thing that I would miss about London. Here there are more, like the few creative directors that there are in the world, they're here. So there is a lot of support. For instance, I am a mentor, but I'm also a mentee. There is, Who's Your Mama? Is a
Oh, yeah.
mentorship for female in creative, and it's specifically like about leadership. There is a lot about leadership, or there is an event that is called Women Wine and Design. Yeah, Women Wine. And those are good places where to, because I think when you're a manager, you notice it because there is the trait of a
Yeah.
leader are still very masculine. And so most of the conversation that you have how are you coping? Are you trying to keep um you're like, we are female, we are okay to be female. Most of the time you are happy to be a female. If you're not,
Yeah.
yeah, but once you know that you want to be, there are some. I'll be practical. For instance, I cannot tell you how much I hate when people describe me as oh my, you're so good with your designers, you take so much good care of my designers. Yes, I do, I love it. But is that all? I hate when
Yeah,
people
yeah.
tell me that. And at the beginning, I didn't notice it, but it happens a lot. People always talk about me in that, and it almost created insecurities now because I
Yes.
think, um, am I just HR? Like, am I here because I'm a good cult leader? I
Yeah.
want to be a good creative. I want to be talked about because pushy, right? I
Yes,
spoke
yes,
to
yes.
creative directors. They think they actively said that they knew that to become a creative director. Um, she wanted to be a creative director, and she actively said, "I need to be like a man. I need to be pushy. I need to be
That's
tough. I
interesting.
need to be rude. I need to." And that to me is a shame because it's bad even for men. I don't think that there are a lot of. I work with a lot of creative director male. Well, not a lot, but a couple.
Yeah.
And when you're a good creative director, you're good because you're good. You're good.
Yes, yes,
You're
that's so true.
inspiration. You're intelligent.
Yeah.
You've got that magic charisma that
A
a
little
leader.
bit of empathy as a creative director can go a long way as well.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember working with our creative director at Byte? For instance, he
Yes.
was definitely a bit mad because he was like an athlete and he was but he had a
But he's
gentleness.
brilliant. He's brilliant.
He
Yeah.
was gentle. He
Yes.
was beyond a man or a woman, and that's what I want to be as well. Yeah, of
Human.
course.
A human.
So
It's not about the man or woman, it's about us being more human, right?
yes, yes, and the qualities that only I have. That is the other thing. Um, for instance, I would like people to talk about. Yes, I'm good at bringing people together. It's not that I'm good with people. It's not that. So yeah, now I do a lot of these discussions about trying to just be good because I'm good and not because
Yeah. And
no,
I think
I'm
it's important that you say that. I think it's really important because I almost we need to discuss it, but almost like if we're talking about it too much, you're right. An insecurity almost comes about. Like, am I here because I'm a good designer, or am I here because I'm being used as PR? And that's no one wants to think
see,
that. Yeah,
see, there is that is that is something that, to be honest, I never, yeah, the tokenism, no, I never had it.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever experienced. For me, it's more, personally, is more about being, I'm good with people, I'm a good
yeah,
manager, but again, it's more like being HR. I'm really
exactly.
good at building a team. I know, and I'm glad I worked towards it. I read a lot of books, like, The Art of War,
Oh, such a good book.
Machiavelli. Um,
Machiavelli.
so,
Tupac Machiavelli.
so you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what. So that it's not because I'm a female that I'm good with
Yes,
people. It's because I study about it. It's because I think that there is a value in
people.
pulling people, being able to speak with people in the right way and make them do what I want, because I'm not
Yes,
nice. I just want my team to be an extension of myself. Um,
yes.
that's obviously, I don't go into a job description, like in job interviews, saying that, but that's my management
But
style.
there's
It's
an
not,
art there's an art to that. There's an art to being able to make people believe you, believe in your vision, believe in what you do, and also, I mean, enjoy somewhat of that process. Not everyone's
yeah,
going to agree with you, but if you can get everyone, it's like a football. It's like sports. It's like sports managers. It's the exact
very
same
much.
thing.
Very
Yeah, yeah.
much. I can still need to read more about it. But my boyfriend is a sport guy, and he told me that there is this manager. I think I don't remember his name, but I think he used to be the manager of
Manchester
uh,
United.
see, see, what is
Alex
it called?
Ferguson.
Yes, yes.
I love
So
Alex Ferguson.
he says that I'm a little bit like that and that I should read more about. That's what I want to be. Because the other thing that I love about him is that he had young people, like junior designers,
Yeah,
junior
yeah.
color, and he grew them and they grew together.
Yes.
And there was, yes, there was a superstar, of course, but even, oh God, superstar.
David
Uh,
Beckham.
Thank you. I have no words. Um, Even yeah, he had to they
Stay
had
in
to
line.
remember there
Yeah.
are other people around. You're not the star. You're one of them.
Yes.
That is how I think about design team. That's how you've been one of mine, but I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
the same thing now. If we don't do it together, there is no value in it. And I
Yes.
think that this is considered a female thing, or anyway, in design is considered a female thing,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
which
That's
I don't think it
I
is.
love that. I love that we got onto Alex Ferguson because I'm actually a Manchester United fan.
Oh,
So yes,
that's
so I know a lot about him, and I think sports is some things in sports as a great analogy for the mental the kind of the mental attitude you need to be a great designer or a good designer. I think for sure, kind of resilience, being able to
yeah. And there is
fight
also
through the
a lot of
trenches.
work behind
Yes.
it. Another thing that I hate is when people say, "Oh, do you magic?" No
Oh,
designers will say, "Do you magic?" because it's not magic. I mean, I'm sure you too, because we talk about you still do so many tutorials, so you don't wake up and you're like that. There is no, yeah, there is a flair that each one of us had. There is an instinct that even the instinct we feed it. I feed my instinct so much,
yeah,
um, and there is so much work. It's like never ending, never
yeah,
ending, and there's also constant challenging the status quo. Okay, so this is my style now. Let me try something else. Do you remember when you tried to stop being so? The classic Brian is purple and the very
yeah,
80s, and you were trying to challenge yourself to be minimalist. Um,
yes. I
that
remember
is a
that.
difficult. That is what an athlete would do. Like I think would find the weakness and try to you
Yes,
be
yeah.
good at everything, and you train your muscles uh, towards that, and it's
That is
never
so
ending.
true. That is so true. Where do you find, which is a great segue, where do you find inspiration? Where is it
I
like,
prepare for this because this is very much part of the feeding your instinct. I am, and that is another reason why living in London is good, or in general, yeah, living in London, traveling. I collect a lot of books and zine magazine. I've got here some. For instance, this
amazing?
is a little zine. Where is it? This is a little
That is
zine,
very
like
cool.
it's really, really tiny, and it's nothing. But I like the way that it is. It's inspiring the way that he uses the color. I don't know. Sometimes I just pick them up, but I've got thousand. I've got this. This is like just about
That is
tiny
so
bumps.
cool.
Tiny bumps.
It's
Um,
minimal.
yeah, this is one that is Italian, and this is super cool. Is Cuori solitari means lonely hearts. I don't know if you had them here in England, but in Italy, like I'm talking about the 50s, we had this instead of Tinder. You put in the newspaper, you
Oh,
put
like
like a
what they call it in England, a personal or like a something like a message in the
yeah,
paper.
where
Like
you
yeah,
look for a
yeah.
person, and so this illustrator
Oh, that's so
basically took
cool.
those description and tried to imagine how they are. And I don't know, is yeah, it's silly, but I really like
That's
it.
so cool.
And I obviously collect. I have a lot of these
Oh, Brittany.
flyers. No, not just Britney, but these are like flyers that you find around, and I have a mad collection of them. I used to, I don't do it anymore, but I used to like take them down off of the wall. Like I've got posters and gigs, especially. I always love how like is the opposite of what we do, like the
Yeah,
layout.
it's just crazy. It's
This is
like
like
naughties.
and this is modern. Like I think I got it a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, collage. But I also have a lot of magazines that I pick around, and I love also, the technique in which they are built.
yeah.
And but I have also loads of. I still have some of my books of uni. Like this is a very hard one,
And when
but
you go back to that book sometimes, will you go back to older books and reference stuff?
see, I think I use it a lot for this. I almost use it the other way, maybe that you should use it, but like I am now in the business of motivating choices. The thing that we were saying about it's sales, you call it,
Yeah,
when some of my designers come up with a perfect idea and you have to explain to the client. Sometimes they don't have the words to explain why it's good. I've been there, I remember it. And you almost like what I try to do when I go back to my uni books are this is you try to remove the subjectiveness of design, because you know that
yes,
there is always someone that think but blue is better,
yeah,
and you cannot just go in and say, look, I'm a designer, trust me, it's not better.
yeah.
You cannot say like that. So what you need to do, what I like to do is using these are visual psychology. This is how the brain is wired. So that's when I go back to this, when I try to find a
Mm.
scientific explanation of why blue
Which is a
is.
bit more B2B, isn't it? To do that. So you feel like the client feels comfortable when you
Yeah,
show them the
what I say to my designers. I always say to my designers, yes, you're a genius, but if you don't explain your clients why you're a genius, they're right. They don't know why you're a genius. Tell them why you're a genius. Because all these things, we internalize them as
yeah,
designers because we see day in, day out. Or with motion graphic as well. Motion graphic is a very subjective field.
yeah,
So that's when I go to this. And another thing that I do is obviously art. There are some artists that I love. For instance, this last year I went to see this fantastic museum in actually was also in South France. So I also went to South France, and it's a beautiful building, and this guy is just fantastic. I don't know. There is something
oh
in
wow,
this. Yeah, I always find some sort of inspiration by looking, because obviously I also go on Instagram, but Instagram is for the now. It's what is
yeah.
cool now.
Yeah, it's what fits the algorithm, right?
See, and I do also. I have uh, again my community. I have a few. That you can do what in Instagram you can do like groups or chat, whatever
Yeah,
they
yeah.
call. And I've got one with Oded, Inessa, and Joad. So and they always send me the weirdest thing. Because
That's
yeah, we
good.
do have similar feeds, I think, but so I've got that chat. I also have a chat with my designers, the current one, and it's cool because now I worked in this place for 4 years, so some of them left, but we still have this.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That is a place where I
I wonder if that
also
affects your feed. That's interesting. And like,
I tried in the past. I tried to force the algorithm. I even created various
accounts.
other account, but it knows it's too good.
It's weird,
Is
isn't it? It's so creepy. I don't know
it
how it
is.
does it.
I I really wish I could control my feed because yeah, sometimes it's good, obviously, to see what more of the same.
Yeah,
But this is, I mean, it's been said already. This is how you get polarizing, right? What
yeah,
it happens in politics, it
yeah,
also happens in design with less bad consequences.
yeah.
But we all get obsessed. Like, do you remember last summer that everyone was obsessed by fake out of home? It was
Yes, that it
everyone.
started
Oh,
annoying me. It really
insane.
started annoying me. And people like there was loads of these mock-ups of fake out of homes that people thought were real, and I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So obviously it was cool because we jumped on the trend straight away.
of
We were
course,
doing a
yeah,
brief, but we changed it immediately. But yeah, what it was sad is that not sad, it's normal now. But yeah, the it was like yeah, it's like viral. That went
And how many clients sent you that out of home ad that we all know with the Nike shoe turning and the air bubbles? It's like I think
yeah,
I was sent that twice
Italy.
by a client. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When I tell you that in Milan things arrive later, my friend Miki, she works for Michela. She works for Meta, so
Yeah.
she is like one of the most up to date thing, and she's like the classic Milano girl. She know everything. She know everyone. She travels a lot. The Maybelline one got to her at least 3 or 4 months later.
Oh God.
So I don't know if that answer a little bit. It's not 10 years behind anymore, but it's still a little bit. But he arrived, it arrived there too. That's a bit. I don't know. It's cool maybe if you're a client because you can jump on a trend. If you jump at the right time, good. But for designers, seeing the same thing over and over.
Yeah, it's sterile. It does get
Yeah.
frustrating at times.
Do you get poses from Instagram every now and then? Do you get out, like the install Inessa does it a lot.
So, like, do you mean do I get the same things over and over again in
No, no,
my
yeah,
feed?
but because you get it, like there is a lot of people that decided to be off of Instagram for like a couple of weeks or a couple like they disinstall the app.
Yes. So I have. It's do you know what, it's really hard for me because you know how much of a conspiracy data freak I am. So and like I say to myself, if I was a millionaire designer tomorrow, I'd uninstall Instagram and delete all my accounts. But because I'd feel a disconnect from people if I don't know even if I'm making up is there a connect, but I have I have limited my time on the app, and by doing so, um sometimes my feed gets worse, and then other times I'll be like pinged with the most like I don't know dopamine hitting information. So yeah, it's hard to know, but like I've definitely limited my time on Instagram because for my mental health, there was a period, especially when I worked with you, um, around that time, I was equating people liking my work with how good it was, and I thought that was an awful way to think. And now it's funny, Sarah, my partner, she'll send me something that's like, the clean, slick CG that agencies love. And she goes, Brian, you could do this. You could do this. I was like, I don't want to do this. This is boring. I'm going to make my weird, purpley, blurred focus work. But yeah, I definitely feel by limiting my time on Instagram, I almost get a worse feed.
Yeah. I think for me became more of a issue since I became a design director. So, that now I
Really?
am basically hands off. I don't do any design anymore. And that's when probably there is an element of FOMO or there is an element of I haven't done design. I mean, I haven't been employed as a designer, like maker, for 4 years. But even the last years in my previous agency, I was not doing that much that last year. I was
Yeah.
more managing and talking and creating the stories,
Yeah.
which I like. Obviously, it's what I want to be. I am what I want to be. But funny enough, that's when I started, because I started feeling left behind.
Oh,
And
okay.
that so there was a couple last year. I think at beginning of last year, I started really being, no, Laura, you have to get back on it. If I don't do it at work, at least do it by yourself. And that's when I started doing my own tests, my own little things.
Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff you've set up. It's lovely.
Yeah, I'm trying to do illustrations now, but
Yeah.
I've also have some animation that I haven't put on yet, because now I really think of Instagram too much,
Yes.
because
Yes.
it's like a stream that goes really fast, and I feel out of it, and that's when it gives me a little bit of anxiety. I feel so left behind.
I feel somewhat left behind on Instagram because I post when I want, and I know that's never enough. I know that you have to be anyway, and I don't get me wrong, like I think for the majority of designers, they're not going to get work from Instagram, but I do know a few designers, and I know
Me
from
too.
talking to other designers that most of their work comes from Instagram, and it's all the fun work. So there's always that side of me. It's like if I just forced myself to be more active, maybe I'd hit the jackpot. But I
Yeah, it's
know,
like being an athlete,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
again, we are every morning you train, you wake up, you do a run. That's when we are. You got to be obsessive, like
Yeah, and I'm not obsessed with Instagram enough, and I know if I force myself, it won't be genuine. It and if it's not genuine, it doesn't feel like with the YouTube videos, the tutorials, it feels genuine. Like I want to do it, and I want to take my channel in a new direction this year, be more storytelling, less technical. So yeah, I only kind of go with what feels natural, I guess, and sometimes what feels natural isn't beneficial. So I don't
that's
know.
what that's what an artist, maybe than
Yeah,
an athlete. But yeah, we battle in between the two things, being an athlete and an artist.
for sure.
How
Um,
are you on TikTok? Like, do you
I don't
like
use
have you?
TikTok. I don't even use TikTok. Do you use Tik? You have to use TikTok, of course.
I
Yeah.
have to. Yeah, for a couple of years I didn't, and at one point my designers were like, "Come on, that you
No,
like at least install it for testing," because
I've installed for testing, but I won't. I won't go on. Like I'll use it. Use it on my browser to test stuff, but I won't install it on my phone. I'm terrified
yeah,
of the thing.
definitely. Uh, I don't get addicted at all. I don't get addicted. I don't get it. I have it, but I don't get the thing that I have with Instagram. I think I don't enjoy, and I've been told that you have to train your algorithm well, because, but if I have to train the algorithm, at
Yeah,
least Instagram sucked it,
yeah,
learn
yeah.
by itself. I don't want to train my, so yeah, I have it. I use it. I don't post anything because I would not know what to post. Um, but
But is
yeah,
the design community is it big on TikTok? Is it?
if you speak with some people, really use it for tutorials.
Oh, yeah, like shorts, like YouTube shorts.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
And a lot of studios show the behind the scene. For instance, the
yeah.
line. I love how the line show you how they do it.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
what else is really cool? The line is the first that I think about it, because I keep sending. I want for the studio where I work now. I want something like that for ours, because we're not a design agency, we are a
yeah,
production creative. So there is, when we put up the work, it always have, it's a case study, it's got all the blah blah, the inside,
yeah,
blah blah blah, blah. While what I care about is the design. So I want to have a space where we just see, yeah, but how it's made, which is to me the interesting part, and that's what I think TikTok is good at, because
yeah.
it's Instagram is more a case study, curated, while TikTok, it can be rough.
Yeah, it's kind of it's I call TikTok run and gun. It's kind of like you just yeah, it's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I think that is a. I think there's more people on TikTok than Instagram. Or maybe I'm wrong. I need to I need to
No,
research that.
could well be because, and you can see that we've got data. TikTok is obviously Gen Z, which
Yeah,
now is the generation that you wanna. tackle like we used to be. And but there are also the oldies. So you have a target that is nowhere else. So that's why I think,
Yeah. It's super niche. Yeah.
yeah, and it's truly global.
Yeah, it is.
While
So
Instagram
I
is
was
very
going to
wet.
ask about your mentoring in UAL. Um, what do you teach? What do you enjoy about it? And now that you're doing this mentoring, it like because of AI and economy and just the saturation, what challenges do you see for young people? It's quite scary for them when I think about
Allora, mm,
it.
forgot all the thing. Why I do it? What did you ask
Oh
why
yeah.
I do?
So what do you enjoy about it?
See,
Basically, the
allora, what I
mentoring.
enjoy about it. What I enjoy about it is that I like to meet very young people.
Yeah,
This is how I keep myself. It's like having a book. It's the same
that's so
thing. By
true. Yeah,
having them, I get speaking different
energize you.
language. So a little bit is a research. A little bit is also applying some of the thing that I learned managing, but the freedom of not having to judge them. Because when you're a manager, I love managing my designers and giving them goals and helping them. But then I am also the one that gives promotion, gives salary. While with this, I don't care. They can do whatever they want. I don't give them feedback. I don't have to make like they don't have to do a timesheet. They don't have to be nice.
Yeah,
So it's I remove the professional
it's
side.
organic.
See, and
Yeah,
again, they are not my responsibility. So while obviously at work they are my responsibility. So there is a joy in that, and so yeah, keeping up dated with things, and there is an element obviously of how I keep talking the design community, a community is giving back.
yeah,
All the thing I learn, I tell you what I learn.
yeah. There's a freedom in that. It's like I find that paying it forward. It's a good thing. Very, very good thing. And what are the challenges you see for young people with like AI
Allora,
and stuff?
I I definitely don't scare them with unless they come to me. Even when they come to me, I always try to give them the most positive
Yeah,
answer possible. I always tell them to focus with what they can control, which is their craft. I always tell them to work on, having a point of view, thinking about just because you make something doesn't mean that you have to be an intelligent being. Don't just do what people tell you, but
yeah.
apply a critical. um so I don't try to scare. It is fucking scary. If you want me to tell you the truth, fucking guys, good fucking luck, because you're fucked. And some of they always pair me with these like crazy. They want to work in. I always get paired with concept artist.
Oh
um
God.
Good luck. And they're girls as well.
Fucking
Oh,
hell
you talk
no.
about mixed traffic being maybe a bit male. Try and go in the gaming as a concept artist.
Yeah,
I don't tell them this. I tell them
it's
that's
savage.
cool. Yes, you can do it.
And they're
Um,
probably so talented, but they just have no idea what's what's
I mean,
ahead of them.
that's one of the hardest, one of the nichest things. So
Yeah, yeah,
this round, I've got. I am gonna meet her Wednesday. I've got a new girl. And she's an animator, at least with animation, I think.
yeah.
Animation, I think with AI, we should be. And
Fine.
again, positive. I try to answer their question also. If they don't ask me, should I be worried? I don't even think about it.
Yeah,
And their question are always the same. There is a lot about how do you prepare your portfolio when you recruit, Laura. What do you look for?
yeah,
So those are very easy questions to
yeah.
answer to, and I help them building their portfolio. Um, a lot of the time, they tend to do the same thing. They show you what without telling you the why, which
Yes,
is
yes. We all did that.
such a designer thing, such a design, and it puts us in a really bad situation if you then go and work with non-designers because they think that there is magic. We think that we. Um, we're just the look of things. Well, you know how serious I take design. Design is
Yes.
half of the thing. The form and function is super important. So that's why that is one of the things that I bang on the most.
Yeah,
And
like
what
why is this website? Why are you I've designed you a new website. You don't tell the client what you've done. You tell them why it will sell, why they'll make more money with this new design, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or even like, for instance, it's so difficult because I've done it a lot, but like you don't talk about it's blue. You say he makes you feel cold behind the back. You talk
Yes.
about the feeling. It's
Yeah.
feeling and story. It's not red.
Yeah.
It's a high energy color. No, you don't even
Yes.
say color. So that is very difficult, especially if you come out of uni, where some of the UAL especially, they do a lot of theory courses, right? But I think it's boring for the youngs. Like they want to talk about the red, they want to talk about the blue.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I try to steer them away. And another thing that they always ask is the industry is so complex. Should I be you are what is you they sometimes they even just want, and I have like this graph that now I show to everyone. You can go in agency, you can go in house, and even in agency, you can go to a big one or you can go to an independent. So,
Yeah.
and then there is UX, there is UI, there is gaming, there is advertising. That is very different. So if you're a
Yeah.
designer, don't go to advertising. But no, go, but know what to expect. Branding. So that is a lot
Yeah.
of the discussion that I do.
Yeah. That is, yeah, I think for a younger person now, it's such a nightmare to navigate. Like, how
You
do
know,
you
I
navigate?
asked I asked one of my designers if they consider themselves lucky because they are the first. Especially my junior designer at work, they actually do use AI. They do, they are employed as AR designers. I asked them if they feel lucky because they do the thing that is the most current. They say it was a cool answer. They said, "Well, we have to. We have. I mean, they don't even have time to think. Is this what I want to do?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so they just jump. But there is something that tells you the madness of being young.
Yes.
Um, it's like if someone came to you after, when you were in your like 21, 22, and they told you there is no future in whatever software you will use. Versus they
Yeah.
told you at the beginning, look, Maya, no one is going to use it. So I don't care. I like
Yes.
it.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
And I
when
think
you're,
that's happening with Cinema 4D with me and the whole 3D thing of AI. I'm like, I don't care. I like making stuff. I'm not gonna listen to the noise. I'm just gonna do it.
yeah,
Which
yeah.
there's a
So
beauty in that. And
they,
interestingly enough, I was seeing, and I want to hear what you think of this. I've been seeing this job description for motion designers called full stack motion designer. Have you seen this?
no, but
So
fair.
Python, Houdini, Cinema 4D, Redshift, After Effects, Davinci, all in a midweight motion designer, and they call it, the way you have full stack developers. Now they're saying full stack motion designers. Like
Fair.
that's crazy.
That is crazy, but uh, that's what the business need.
Yeah.
Is good. And I bet that whoever goes into it, they will probably just know a couple of codes. They probably know how to use nodes. That's
Yes.
what people that are applying for that position are. But they just, if I've been that type of person. If you think you're good enough, you've got something to show it, you're the best among people, you get that job and you become that thing. So I don't know, I'm glad I don't have to apply for those jobs, I'm not gonna lie. That's what, when at the beginning I told you that I could not do the thing that my designers do.
Yeah.
Because they are like, I have this designer Betty, and she is so cool. She, for this AR exhibition that we did last week, she did basically, she took the proposition of the company, which is like the buzzword, blah blah blah. And she put it in ChatGPT. She wrote a song, so wrote the lyrics,
Very
but she
cool.
also built a track. So it's a music. It's quite cool. I might send it to you at the end because it's really cool,
Yeah.
and it's a cool song. And at the same time, she created this visual that reacts to the music. So like and she's a motion designer that
Yeah.
retrained herself as an AR designer, and
Very cool.
now she is becoming basically a creative coder.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, that's so
It's
cool.
all into a little girl, quiet. I don't think he's more than 25,
That's mad. That's mad.
but it's
Um,
natural for her.
yeah, you kind of it's that what feels genuine thing again, like,
And I think
you
it's the
know.
madness, like how do you like this? You go in with a crazy confidence. You're superficial. You don't. The fact that you don't see the challenge makes.
That's the ego. That's the beauty. And then you get an ego death within 3 years.
I think it's actually the ego. It's the ego that can save you today. If you
Yes, yeah, yeah.
think you're good, if you have a point of view, that's when it's gonna save you. Because if you think too much, that's when you start shit, because it's shit. But no, try to
Just
get
do it.
in like we used to do in our first job when people was like still using Corel Draw or
Yeah,
Quark. I don't know
God,
if you're old
God.
enough, but like I was seen as a genius just because I knew more than one software.
That
Even
is mad.
us, we were 3D, motion,
Yeah.
Illustrator. We were many things. It's just that today they've got a lot of like they've got more hats.
Yeah, it the idea of doing one thing now is very difficult
Same.
to imagine unless you're unbelievable at it, like natural God-given talent kind of a thing. I think you've got to wear more than one hat now, or more than
Yeah.
three, maybe for sure. Um, we finish on this question, which is an interesting one because you were my manager once, and you were in the trenches with me, and you would design and use your tools. How have you found the transition from moving into design director, where you're not on the tools as much, for someone that used to love being on the tools?
Uh, on one hand, it was is natural because I always wanted to be. It's almost like whatever I did before was just a preparation for this.
Yeah.
But it hurts
Oh,
a
really?
lot, and you feel. I'm gonna be very dramatic. I feel I lost. I don't know anymore what I stand for.
Oh,
Not making. I never thought, and again, we go back. This is a good way to bring it back in. What I told you at the beginning that I didn't know that being a creative was a profession. I think same thing probably. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know there was, but I was always a creative. I never thought about myself as a creative when I was, a kid or a
yeah,
teenager. But I am, and now that I kind of like fulfilled the desire of being. I mean, I still want to be a creative director, so I'm not done.
yeah.
But you know what I mean. But I feel that I need to make, I need to create, I need to do it. I is a very important part, especially for my mental health.
Yeah,
And last year it was a really big. Beginning of last year was very. I'm calling it difficult. It was not difficult, but in the grand scheme, you know me that I'm always very happy and I like to be happy and everything is fine. But last year I was sad. I was sad. Um, and that sadness, I think it came from realizing I don't do making is very important for me. Um, so it's like if a part of me died.
no, I get that. I can no, genuinely, I get that. I can feel that. I feel like I'm scared to come off the tools one day if I have to. But I guess I'm gonna ask you another question, even though I said that was my ask. Do you think to progress in your career, the natural transition is to eventually come off the tools? Not for everyone, but for some people.
Mm,
Or do you
I
think
don't
there's
know.
a place where you can do what you do and still be on the tools?
No doubt. Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
think the secret is the the bigger the agency. the less you're going to work. The smaller the agency, the more you're going to work.
Okay,
For
cool.
instance, I look at people, right? And there is this creative director that I love. She's called Ilenia. You know the studio Illo.tv is a touring
Yes,
studio.
I do. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah? Um, she uh, she does a lot less, I'm sure, but she still does thing. The secret is that I don't think in their studio they are more than 9 full time,
Yeah.
and there's every now and then they hire freelance, and they've got like a business model for which they don't need. Plus, they are in Turin, not even in Milan, so they don't have the crazy growth
Yes.
madness they have here. Here they always have to year on year, you have to double, you have to make. While there, they really care about obviously making money. They're not
But they can,
they
I
live.
guess they can care about the craft more because their overheads are less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And you don't have to, when a time like this, I'm sure that they must have difficulties even them now. But you can say no to a project if it doesn't fit
Yeah.
with your style, or you don't have to take Tesco banners because you have a mouth to
Yeah.
feed. You have
Yeah,
less
yeah,
mouth. So maybe
yeah.
they do. I'm sure that some of the project they took him for the money, and she still does things. So I think that is where I hope to go now. I'm making more. Last year, once I realized that first I had to accept that I had this sadness, because I am like, in Inside Out, the character Joy. I don't want to be sad,
Yeah.
but I learned it. So Disney is good. I learned it that sometimes being sad is fine.
Yes.
Okay, this
Yes.
is so once I accepted it, once I marinated a little bit on it, um, I took it as a change. And that's when I started doing more personal stuff.
Amazing.
And I did personal project with friends or self-initiated. And that was cool because it was very hard to go back on it because literally I didn't know what I stand for. And what I love the most is a style that is dead. Like the
You did the
2D.
the Dadaism stuff. I absolutely loved it, like the collage stuff, and I'm like, I love that you're bringing that stuff back.
I will, because the trends are
Yeah,
like right now we are at what is it called, the 2000, right? But
yeah,
soon we are gonna get to the 2010, and that's when my style is gonna be cool again. But I'm also exploring. Recently, I'm in a very interesting. I found a freedom, like for instance, not doing motion graphic was cool for a second. Not thinking about, thinking about the frame instead of the motion. But now I'm back at motion graphics, so I'm trying to do more personal stuff. And even at work, I
yeah.
decided that there is no small job. For instance, I do deck design sometimes,
Cool.
which if you tell me 4 years ago, I would have said, "Bitch, I'm not doing." You know what I'm talking with.
There is something cool about deck design if you really, really get into it. Like even when I sent you the deck that a few months ago, and you gave me some really good feedback, I was like, oh, there's a craft in that alone, isn't there?
And at least I do something because
Yes.
I discovered I didn't know I had this urge to do. I do. And there is a beauty, like when in the weekend you don't do anything, and then there are those weekend instead where you see friends, you go
Yeah.
to a museum, you clean your flat.
Yeah.
I've got that feeling I have something tangible that
Yes.
I have done. It's a small accomplished. So doing, or sometimes I do, little icons,
Yeah.
or stitch together.
Doodles. Yeah.
Same, same.
Icons.
I mean, for work, I do simple thing because obviously I don't want to take the work off of my
Yeah.
designer.
Yeah.
They're better. Um, but yeah, it is important to keep a balance. If I will ever have to give advices to manage, maybe one day I'm going to become the mentor of managers.
Consultant.
Yeah, what a dream. That's what I'm gonna say. Definitely never get off the tool. Maybe don't go. You're not on the tool in the place where you're employed, but take something because I think it's important also for me to reaffirm who I am. Like I hate that it told me they don't know how great of a designer I am. Um,
Well,
yeah,
I do, and that's we all will. That's all that matters.
yeah. Sometimes when I speak with the old gang, they say, "Yes, what do you mean they don't?" I don't know. Obviously, they say that, of course, but they don't have the proof. But keep something, and then I do a thing on my side.
I definitely think creative directors, design directors, a little story. I know we've run over time, but this um
Talk
so
away.
Marco, there's a guy called Marco Capello I worked with at what was the name? I can't remember the name of the agency, but we did a project for Meta. It was during lockdown, and it was one of my best pieces of work I did, and I definitely have to thank him with his design direction throughout the project. And I found definitely in the past the design directors, the creative directors that I connected with more were the ones that got in the trenches and did something dirty with me. Like he got his Figma board out and we both designed together. And I don't know, as the person making the stuff and coming up, like he allowed me come up with ideas. It was a really interesting thing where I'd almost garnered more respect for him because he was showing he could do it too. And that was really cool to work with a design director like that. So I definitely think you're right. Don't come off the tools. I think you
Yeah, I
could
wish.
almost garner more respect from designers by working with them on the small things you were saying there.
Yeah, I wish I knew it before. Again, now I know it. But yeah, when I went to this job, I was so eager. I completely let it go. But yeah, it's a good thing what you said. I have started doing it again. For instance, Figma boards. I do a
Yeah.
lot of that now. Um, I told you we did this AR exhibition. I did my entry as well, which if you like, you would know immediately if I show you all of them. You would one of them. Um,
But you did it.
but yeah, 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 I did it. I did
Yeah,
it.
that's
And you
that,
know
that's
what? It was hard to start, but once I started, because it's an internal project, I could do whatever I wanted. It's in my style. It's
yeah,
actually a little bit yours as well because there is a bit of glow and there is, but yeah, it is. It was so easy. It was like it was like
it's a flow.
you
Flow.
felt, like when you got that feeling that you're working on a project and you don't feel the time passing.
Yes, I love that. Like blinders. Yeah.
You know what is addictive? That is a feeling that is addictive, and that's what I missed.
Is one of the best feelings in the world because it doesn't like if you come off Instagram, you lose. Or if you're on Instagram, you lose track of time, but your dopamine is gone when you come off Instagram.
Yeah, yeah, it's
But
true.
with that feeling of productivity where you come out of it and you feel like a god, it's amazing. It's one of the
And
best
there is
feelings
like a
ever.
stillness in your mind
Yeah,
that is not like a brain dead or a mindness. That is
yeah,
what Instagram gives you, but it's a calm, a calm.
yeah,
You don't think.
yeah.
Is a
It's like
beautiful
mastery or
feeling.
something. I don't know. It's very
See,
cool.
see. I also read a lot of books about artisan because
Yes.
the region where I come from and the uni that I did is very artisan, no? Which are like artists, and I think are the closest thing to a designers because they do an art, but they do it for money. They don't do,
Yeah,
but they always add their flares.
yeah,
Um, and they said that basically to become in the middle age more to become one, basically you have a master and you follow the master and you have to have a certain number of hours that you gain to then
yes,
become yourself it's because by, let's say, wood, carving the wood, at one point when you master the technique, so the physical, the resistance, knowing the tool, knowing the right force to apply, basically, after you do it so much, the brain switch. There is one point in which
yeah,
you don't think about that anymore because that is muscle memory. And so you've got the free time to think about the flair, to add. And that is the space where
yeah.
that I
That's so
miss
true.
being and doing real design. Um, there's
But
still
you
the
do
thing
it.
about being a manager, creative director. I love that too. Huh?
But you're
I
doing it
never.
again. You're doing the design again. So you're doing your
Yeah,
design again, which is good.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
there
yeah.
anything you
That's
want me to share on here of your designs, your new designs, Instagrams?
so you can share the Instagram. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna post there the AR thing that I've
Yeah,
done, and yeah,
yeah. Um, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for coming on and chatting,
thank you for
and
having
it
me.
was a pleasure talking to you.
See.